Else, that is all they ever saw in me. Quirks are a blessing, while others it's a curse. A prime example of that is a porcelain quirk. Let me explain. The porcelain quirk doesn't appear at the age of 5. It appears at any point in time in life. You could be 6 and it appears, or 70 and then it appears. But whatever it does appear will remain that way forever to the day you die of a normal human lifespan. In my case, I'll look forever 17, even though I'm 25 now. Only drawback is that you're fragile as porcelain, and you can break like glass, though it is possible to be put back together, but the cracks will forever remain no matter how much powder and makeup you put on. Most noble and rich women would think it's a dream come true, but they're wrong. Anybody that has a quirk and is between 16 to 35 years old are highly valued in the black market. There were a lot of stories I heard of young women being stolen away from their homes and brought here to be sold off to some noble as pretty decoration or a way to show off their wealth or used for their pleasure. Who doesn't want a beautiful girl that will never grow old or ugly? The cases were cold and lonely, despite there being many of us. No one could talk to each other in fear of not knowing who would be next. I've only ever made one friend in this place. A beautiful girl named Momo, like me. She was taken from her humble home and ended up here. Sadly, she was sold away to a king named Endeavor as a present for his youngest son. I hope she's okay. Now I bet you're thinking, is there a way to escape such a fate? Or even a way to escape it all? There's only 2 ways that I'm afraid of. 1, the porcelain quirk either came too early or far too late. 2nd, if you were a nick or some sort of crack, then you are automatically deemed worthless and are tossed aside. Nobody wants a cracked doll after all. But believe me, they have ways of preventing merchandise from being damaged. Ogjar, the slave master, and his goons were moving their wagons and merchandise through the forest late at night. Inside the wagon was cramped and clean with saw and with mats, pillows, and blankets covering the floors and walls, yet it failed to hide the barred windows and the shackles that bound their captives. All was quiet when the wagon jolted to a stop. Careful, you fools, you might have damaged the merchandise, Argo yelled at the lackeys. He quickly opened the door to check on them. Seeing everyone was not harmed nor chipped, he smiled cockily. Now, my pretties, we're almost at the Kingdom Valmar, where you'll be bought by new masters. Behave and don't try anything funny. Then maybe I won't let my lackeys have a taste of you, Argo said as he licked his lips. The captives shuddered at his words and tried to back further into the wagon. Argo laughed at their oblivious and slammed the door shut. I want to go home, one girl sobbed as she slowly started to break down. Hey, you're going to get us in trouble, a boy scowled. I slowly blocked them out as I thought back on my life before my quirk appeared, before this life. Yin, look what Mom made me, my dear friend Izuku called. We were only 7 years old when he showed me his first nice armor his mother made him. He idolized the famous knights and adventurers. His favorite hero was the lone hero All Might. One could almost call him obsessed. I remember all the times where we used to play out in the forest, where he would be my knight in shining armor, and I would be his princess. Ah, help me, I cried out dramatically. I am here, Izuku said with great bravery. As he got older, he was served visiting last as he went off training in a nearby kingdom. But he always came back once a year to visit me and his family. Even time he visited, he would always bring me back a rose. His face would be completely as he muttered incompetent things. He never truly lost touch, because he would always write letters to me about his day and what he's seen, and I write letters back to him nightly. Then, my 17th birthday, I woke up to the sun shining in my face as usual, but something felt off. My skin didn't feel right. I quickly ran over to the mirror and saw my face. My skin became milky white. All my sunspots and imperfections were gone. My skin has never been this smooth. My eyes were a little larger. It really made my eye color eyes stand out more. My lips became cherry pink. I looked like a doll. That was when I realized my curse, porcelain quirk woken within me. But I was a mystic. My mother had the porcelain quirk at age 19, and she was never stolen nor captured by anyone, and my father protected her with all his heart. So I put those fears aside. Then I revealed my transformation to my parents. They were shocked and slightly afraid, but they embraced me. They told me I will be okay and I will be protected. When Izuku returned for his birthday, his reaction was priceless. His face became cherry red, and he always tripped over his words. Eventually, he muttered up the courage to tell me I was the most beautiful lady he had ever saw. And that, when he became an official knight, he'll make sure I'll never have to live my life in fear. I never felt so happy in my life as he pulled me into a passionate kiss. It had been a few months later, my family and Izuku were relaxing in the living room, when suddenly there had been a knock at the door. My father thought it was the milkman, so he decided to answer the door. But he was greeted with a knife to his stomach. Panic rushed over me and my mother as we saw 3 muscular-looking men entering our house. Then a fourth man came, the slave leader, Argo. Izuku, still a knight in training, pulled his sword out from his sheath and got into a defense position. He stood between the men and us. He tried to fight them off. Izuku did put up a pretty good fight, good and long fight, until eventually lost due to being outnumbered. They pushed Izuku to the ground, tied his hands behind his back, and quickly gagged him with a piece of cloth. Now, ladies, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Either hand ourselves over to us and the boy lives, or we'll behead this boy and take you by force, Argo said as he set on Izuku's back and putting a knife near Izuku's throat. No, I cried out as my mother held me back. I feel so dumb. Izuku tried to cry out through the gag to me. Don't hurt him, I begged. So what is it going to be, ladies? The boy or you? Argo said with a twisted smile. I began to tremble in fear as I looked at Izuku. He quickly shook his head no, trying to tell us not to surrender ourselves to them as tears welled up in my eyes. We're sorry, Izuku, I sobbed in defeat. My mother and I stepped forward and we were quickly chained up, Argo holding our leash. I'm not going to do this, but basically he's muttering. He's trying to say something even though he's gagged. Zuko cried out as he tried to free himself from the bindage, glaring daggers at Argo as he looked us over lustfully. Very quickly, we were forced into the wagon, and that was the last time I ever saw home and Izuku. The wagon was ready to move until a voice called out from the darkness, "Halt, evil scum! In the name of our king, Gran Torino, your valid act of trafficking are over," said a knight, checking out the silver armor, riding a brown horse. Argo laughed at the lone knight. "Oh yeah? You and what army?" Argo chuckled. Suddenly there was more light in the darkness. It appeared to surround the wagon in all directions. From the darkness, an army of knights stepped out, some on foot, others on horseback. "Surrender immediately," shouted another knight, this one on a white horse. "What are you fools looking at? Attack!" Argo shouted. It was hard to tell what was happening outside, as everyone heard a fight happening outside. The scuffles lasted for a pretty long time, but eventually the struggles settled down. Everyone sat in silence as they waited, not knowing what was going on. Suddenly the wagon door opened, revealing a man in knight's armor. He had blue hair and rectangular glasses. "Don't worry, we're here to rescue you," he informed us. Slowly but surely everyone was escorted off the wagon, one by one. We were unchained. I was the last one to be unchained. As I approached the knight with the keys, I heard a faint gasp. "Ian?" the knight shouted as he pulled me into a gentle yet strong hug. I looked at the knight in confusion as I watched him remove his helmet, revealing my childhood friend Izuku. He definitely aged and grew over at least 8 years. I felt a little self-conscious because of how short and young I looked compared to him. He was taller and looked more mature and looked so handsome. I finally found you, Yin," as he said as he pulled me into another hug. "Izuku, I was so scared," I sobbed into his chest. "I'm here now, and this time I'll keep you safe," Izuku whispered softly in my ear. I kissed his cheek softly, and as I hugged him, Izuku picked me up bridal style and placed me on his horse. He quickly pulled himself on the horse as the other knights escorted the others to the kingdom. Izuku and I decided to return home instead. So early on in this chapter is your friend Momo, aka that will be another version of you, because there is a in like a couple of chapters there will be a Prince Shota X Fragile listener. But I hope you enjoyed, and there will be one more video coming later this, actually there will be 2, but yeah. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for those other ones. Bye!